are just a girl from Kansas trying to do I don't know what.
Have sex with John Hamm.
Greetings and salutations, guys. I'm here with my review of the uniquely titled GAIL Daughtrey and the Celebrity Sex Pass, new comedy starring Zoey Deutch. She plays a hairdresser here living in Kansas, and things go bad for her when she and her fiance have talked about who is their hall pass, their celebrity hall pass that they would be allowed to sleep with if given the opportunity, and he actually goes through with that when he meets that celebrity, one of many real-life people playing themselves. And now she needs to balance things out. And to do that, she is going to try to find John Hamm, who is the person she named to him that she would be able to sleep with and was given that permission. So now she has to track down John Hamm and sleep with him to make things right in her world. GAIL Daughtrey and the Celebrity Sex Pass. I have to keep watching myself because I want to say Celebrity Sex Pest. That's what naturally flows when I say that sentence, but it's not. It's Pass. It is directed by David Wain, and it is co-written by Wain and Ken Marino. These guys go way back to The State, the sketch comedy series on MTV in the mid-90s, and David Wain, as a film director, goes back to Wet Hot American Summer, a movie Marino is in, and which I would call one of the greatest comedies ever made. Wet Hot American Summer to me is just an amazing, amazing comedy. I've liked plenty that David Wain has directed since, including Role Models and Wanderlust. But the high bar for me is always going to be Wet Hot American Summer. So it's not a small thing when I say that GAIL Daughtrey is probably my second favorite David Wain movie now. Is it another Wet Hot American Summer? No, of course not. How can you achieve perfection twice? I don't think it's possible. But I did think this was a damn funny comedy, and one that really, it grew on me, which is to say, while I was watching it, I went from like enjoying it to getting more and more into it, and also just laughing louder and louder as it went on. The movie really rests on the shoulders of Zoey Deutch, and she is so funny and so likable in this movie. I've only seen her in a handful of things, I realize. She's in Minions and Monsters right now, where you can hear her, so I've seen that, and I saw Juror number 2, but really the thing that really stands out for me is Zombieland sequel, where she was very funny in that movie, kind of taking a ditzy role and doing something very different with it. And she makes GAIL a very funny comic character because she is heightened from the start. The reality of this movie is not real life. You know, everything is heightened. All the characters are acting, like they're in a broad comedy, which they are. And so GAIL is very earnest and warm and happy, but she's also very naive. And sometimes she has to be a little dumb to make some of the jokes work. But there's just such a likability that Zoey Deutch brings to it. And you really kind of feel like she's clicking in with this material and with this character and with this just sort of upbeat persona of this character. This character is ever smiling, ever kind of looking at the bright side, trying to sort of see the optimistic side of things. And she does it really well in a comedy that will get a lot of humor out of the fact that it gets increasingly darker and messed up things will happen around GAIL. And she just kind of has that same go-getter attitude. And I think it just works really well, that balance between that character and what she is exuding and what's happening to her in this movie. And the movie has a great supporting cast as well. It's interesting because they do this huge homage to The Wizard of Oz throughout, and they're very blatant about the fact that they're doing an homage to The Wizard of Oz. And I don't really know if that's necessary. You know, small town girl from Kansas ends up in a big bright world that she's not used to, and she has to go on this adventure, and she has to find this person of importance, and she's going to gather a group around her as she does it. But I think that framework, it ends up just serving the movie. It serves the comedy. So even though I didn't really need it to be so one-to-one with Wizard of Oz, it was still fine for me. And then I really liked the characters and the actors that assemble around her that make up this group that are going to help her on her quest. That includes Miles Gutierrez Riley has her best friend. Ben Wang has a young Hollywood agent that helps them. Co-screenwriter Ken Marino plays a disgraced paparazzi photographer. And then you have John Slattery as John Slattery in a movie with lots of celebrities playing themselves. He has the biggest role, playing, a deadbeat version of himself who's fallen on hard times and who John Hamm is not replying to on text, who decides he's going to try to help get to John Hamm for his own reasons as well, of course. All the actors get really good comedic set pieces of their own. They all get really standout moments. And whether or not they worked with David Wain before or this is their first project with him, I think that they all sort of understand the assignment. They get the vibe. They get that this does not need to be tethered to real life, really, and that they can go for broke. And it leads to some extremely funny scenes. While I will always welcome the presence of Joe Latruglio, another alumni from the state and What Hot American Summer, his supporting role here has one of a group of criminals who is tracking Gail after a classic mistaken briefcase swap. It's maybe my least favorite part of the movie. There is some very funny moments with these guys, but whenever they cut to them, you can kind of feel like, all right, let's get back to Gail. Let's get back to Gail and her story. Although where it all culminates and the showdown with these criminals that inevitably happens, it's really good stuff. And so it almost makes it all worthwhile that we spent those earlier scenes leading into what is a very, very funny comedic encounter here. Look, comedy is obviously so freaking subjective. And so I am someone who completely was vibing with this movie from the start, really, but even more as it went on. And I also know there are people who will not at all. It just will not be their style of humor. They won't like that the characters don't act grounded in any way and that it's kind of an anything goes movie. They also won't like when it gets extremely violent and something happens that is a shocking moment in the middle of what seems like such an upbeat story. To me, that's what makes it all the funnier. There's a good portion of this movie in the first third, I'd say, where I was like, hey, this is silly fun. I'm having a good time, and occasionally I'm getting a good laugh. But like I said, it really benefits because it gets stronger and funnier as it goes on, as it's crossing more lines, and has more crazy things are happening, and the way the characters react, or in some cases do not react, to the insanity around them. There are some moments that really had me cracking up in this movie in a way that few other comedies have in recent memory. If you know the state and you know Wet Hot American Summer, then you're going to get an extra kick out of some of the cameos here from people that have worked with Wain and Marino, sometimes many, many times in the past. And then, of course, there is a bunch of celebrities mostly playing themselves, and some of them are pretty big stars. And I think that they are almost always used in a really clever, fun way. This movie benefits from being made by David Wain. So you can tell this was a low budget movie where he could just call in favors and just have people show up and sort of do whatever. And because they know him and trust him, they're like, yeah, sure, I'll come to set for a day and do something really goofy and really stupid for the sake of comedy. And that, of course, includes John Hamm. He's on the posters, he's in the trailers. So I don't have to keep it a secret he's in the movie. It's also no surprise, both because of the plot and because he was in the Wet Hot American Summer TV series, along with John Slattery. We've known since his appearances on 30 Rock and SNL that John Hamm is a very funny guy himself who also does not take himself seriously. And so, as you can imagine, he can lean into that here, playing John Hamm, the star of Mad Men, and the way that's evoked, the way his history is evoked, the way his history with John Slattery is evoked, is great. Yeah, I had a very good time with Gail Daughtry and the Celebrity Sex Pass, not Pest. And I'm sure there are other people who are going to embrace this movie, just as I'm sure there are other people going to say that's so stupid. But those of us who love it can also say it's stupid because it's that kind of movie. I think it's clever and stupid. Some people might just think it's stupid. But if you are connecting with this kind of comedy, I think you're going to have a great time as well. All right, guys, if you can like and subscribe, I'll have a great time from that. So thanks a lot. Take care.